Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 37 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to be joined today by my first guest, who's both from Bosnia. Never had anyone from Bosnia before, and is located now in Iowa. I've never had anyone from Iowa before. Mensur Pudic was originally born in Bosnia in 1986, and at a very young age, experienced war and life as a refugee. At the age of 5, he came to America with his family, speaking no English and having no idea what life would be like oceans away. Despite all that struggle, though, and misfortune at an early point in his life, Mensur, and I'm very pleased to say, went on to achieve the American dream and achieve an accolade, actually, of degrees, and then went on to oversee finances for a multi-million-dollar Fortune 500 company. Mensur has recently gone out, actually, to start up a company called Simply Motivated, which he's the founder of, and uses his life experience to get other people motivated and keep them disciplined and dedicated to reaching their goals. Mensur, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show. How are you?
Hey, Jake, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to welcome you along. And like I said, a series of firsts there. Always like to keep the podcast fresh and keep the guests interesting. And you certainly are interesting. You have a great story to tell, and I'm looking forward to diving into it. It seems to be that I have quite a current theme at the moment of people coming on the podcast that were born and raised in one area. I know you moved at quite a young age, but then, emigrated to another country, and it takes quite a lot, particularly it takes a lot in the physical, but in the mindset as well to adjust to that. And I believe it creates a certain mindset in someone, which is kind of what I like to call the immigrant state of mind, which is someone who really is a natural born hustler and someone who really strives to get the things that they want to get and doesn't let anything get in their way. So tell me, Mensur, you've got your business, Simply Motivated. Tell us a bit more about that and what you do there.
Well, I always wanted it to, I had a passion. My passion is I always wanted it to help motivate and inspire people and take them from their daily routine and give them, a hope, a vision, dream for something more. I've always had that in me, always worked hard, and definitely discipline was huge. It led me to be where I'm at, led me to all my success. And it's just using my life experience of, being an immigrant, having that you have to make a mentality, that took me a long way because it's something that had me focus on the future. And I always tell my clients, when I talk to them, if you ask yourself why, you're always retrieving stuff that's in your memory bank, or you're always going back in history, but you're not there. So you got to keep asking yourself what. And that's going to kind of help you get traction on what do you have to do next? What do you have to accomplish next? What do you want your goal to be next? And that mentality, if you have that and you make those small changes, you can just go a long way. And I've had it in me, and I didn't let other people disrupt me mentally, and because you got to work on your brain daily. And I just kept plugging away and was focused on my goal. Write that goal down and hit the ground running. So.
Yeah, fantastic. And, you speak from experience and you use those experiences to help others. And I really do love that. That's fantastic. Tell me, you went on from straight out of college there. You got a fantastic job straight away, running the kind of finance and for a multi-million-dollar Fortune 500 company. Not everybody comes straight out of college and gets that kind of job. Now, do you still work in corporate now as well as the coaching?
So yes, I'm still in a corporate company. It's an international corporate company. So what happened, a little backstory on that, I was getting my master's degree and I was working at a grocery store, and, they wanted it to promote me. And I told one of the heads up no, because I had a bigger vision. So I wasn't afraid of saying no because I know the work that I do. I know the end result that I want to see, and I knew I wasn't going to see it there. And frankly enough, I walked in on a weekend and the guy fires me, which was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I still continued wanting to get my master's degree. And there was just a little nudge that I needed to kind of get me revamped up so I can study more and attend those classes, get what I needed because the system wanted me to get it. And, that's exactly what I did, and collaborated with people that were a lot older than me. So they had a vast, and a majority of experience that I kind of acquired just by sitting in class, that I was absorbing their professions and what they did, how they got there. And then I started utilizing that, filling out applications. And I didn't want to just go to any company. I wanted it to go to a leading company because I felt like, hey, I'm a leader in my own life. I want to be in a leading company because if I have to lead others, I got to be able to get that experience. I want to get it on a global scale. Just because I knew I could take that on. And I also knew there were things that were going to be there to develop me. So, I just kept applying to these big corporations, persistent and definitely disciplined and consistent on a daily until they brought me in for an interview. And I kind of knew I had them there at that point.
Sometimes you do just know, don't you? When you go in for an interview, you get a really good feeling about it. I always like to, I just think when I've gone into any interview, I guess, I know you're a man who uses, you envisage stuff first, right? The power of visualization. And I always just visualize that I already got the job when I go in. Usually works. I think I've only gone for one interview and not got the job. But and then do you still work at the same Fortune 500 company you worked at then? You've progressed through it, or?
So I work with that company, and I have been there probably for the past almost 8 years. And I'm building my side business, which my side business is going to go through the roof. And when I started the business, just in our culture and our background, it's not something people are accustomed to. The motivational speaking, they just call it storytelling. They're not into it, which is okay because everybody has their perspective. The thing is, that doesn't stop my passion. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build this company, and I'm going to help people that want help. And that's one of those things that, I know the help that people need, especially, being able to, like you said, having that vision of that goal. Most people fail goals because they aim too low. Other reason is they don't have that image in their head of what they want to be. Now you can practice that stuff, and you can live that. And, if you watch some of the movies like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he used to watch, bodybuilding, and he imagined himself in there, and that took over, for him on a mental level, that he needed to do things to get there. And that's exactly, he carved himself into that position. And a lot of people don't do that, but expect XYZ. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. You have to have that because it's going to drive you from that why. You're going to get that what, and then you're going to progress forward. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And using Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example, what a fantastic example of a man that is, and someone who, again, moved from one country to another and quite literally carved what he wanted, but mentally and physically, into existence, with him being, I've read a couple of Arnold Schwarzenegger's books, and what fascinated me, and I didn't know until you've read the books, that he actually had achieved huge success before bodybuilding in terms of, finances and business. He had a very successful mail order business, and he'd already been involved with property before he even got into bodybuilding, and done some pretty big deals. So, and mindset was a huge thing for him, though, right? He was always a visualizer of things way before they were going to happen, and had the stoic mindset of, yep, I'm already there in my mind. I've already got there, and I've already won. And but I think a part of that is, taking action straight away, right? That's important, and making the decision and staying committed to that decision. But then having the patience and the persistence to know that, yes, I've taken action today, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen today, or maybe even this week or this month. It might take a few months, it might take a year, it might take a few years, but staying dedicated and disciplined, which I know is two things that you really, really work on, are just massively important, aren't they? To know that, yes, you're doing the work, yes, you're putting the work in. You're not sure exactly when the results are going to come, but they're coming, and just keep working towards them, and having enough persistence and patience to keep your head in the game, and not quit. Really, most importantly.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to be willing to fuel your brain, right? You're fueling your body with food we eat. But what you feed your body, you have to feed your brain. If you want to advance, you got to learn. If you want to learn, you got to put some time into it. And that's just one of those things. People are out there thinking that, it's just going to happen. Well, that happens with Powerballs, and I haven't won one yet. But I knew, if I keep up the hard work and I'm disciplined into it, something will pan out. Even if something doesn't pan out, it's a lot farther than my thought process or where I was before that. And then I just advance and kind of add on that and, proceed with the following steps, because something will come out of it, good, bad, or indifferent. You have something to work with. But that's the key of being that discipline and feeding your mind and willing to do more and, take on the extra, because those skills pay off. They definitely do. So
they do pay off in many areas of your life. And I think of discipline, particularly with regards to, the gym and staying fit and healthy and just showing up every day, doing the work and getting the results. So that's a big place that taught me a lot of discipline, actually. Is the gym, because you have to put a lot of things together to make it happen. Like you said, we fuel our bodies, and great way of thinking about it. Actually, I've never thought about it that way myself before. You've got to fuel the brain as well, right? You've got to put the right stuff into it to get the right stuff back out of it, and then put that into the results that you want. I'm intrigued to know, Mensur, so you came out of college there, you got the degrees, you had the qualifications, you were, I want to say fortunate enough, but I mean, that's not really the right word. You were smart enough and driven enough to get this great job straight away, the Fortune 500. Then how long did it take from that to you getting going with your coaching business, Simply Motivated?
So I stayed with the company. Like I said, I'm still currently there. But, the passion in me of what is it that I wanted it to do. I work with other leading companies. And when I look at my passion and I look at my employees, I'm kind of the go-to person, right? So people are asking me, hey, how do I do this? Or what are your thoughts on this? And some of those people have been in those positions a lot longer than I have. But it's one of those things that I started thinking to myself, I'm like, there's so much in me, but keeping it in me doesn't do any good, right? So it's like, how can I use my experience, my skills, and how can I help other people, And that's what kind of clicked for me. It's like when you have a hard time sleeping because your passion's keeping you awake, you have to do something with it. I was like a fireball, and I'm like, I did compete in bodybuilding. It was one of the things that tested me both mentally and physically, and I'm glad I accomplished that. Then I went into powerlifting, but I still wasn't satisfied. And I went through all my education. I got in this company, but there's still something in me that kind of kept me up. And I'm like, okay, this passion is helping people, because that's what I'm passionate about. I want to help people get to their goals. I want to show them the importance of visualizing those goals and taking those steps. And I don't think there's anything more fulfilling for me than seeing somebody else succeed. It's everybody wants to succeed. We all know that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we all have the potential and the capacity to succeed. We have to take the steps, be willing to do the work, be willing to be coached. Because even if you're in high level companies, you're always learning. You got to be coachable if you want to be a leader, because not everybody learns the same. Not everybody learns at the same pace. And, you got to have that mentality where you can show people, but you can also kind of guide them, reinforce them, and have them get wings where they can kind of take off, because the transformation happens from the inside out. So
yeah, it does. And it's about living from the inside out, right? Not the outside in.
Absolutely.
Something I've been learning lately, for sure. I knew that actually that you competed in bodybuilding and powerlifting, so it's quite interesting that I mentioned that. But the discipline there that can be found in that. I mean, I'm not going to say I've competed at bodybuilding, but just the discipline that you can get from kind of sculpting your body and training it and transforming it is huge, isn't it? So much value in it. And then when you can apply that to the other areas of your life, it's a really, really powerful thing. And what has been some of your kind of biggest business challenges? And I guess you could encompass that in the corporate world or the coaching business, whichever one you like. But I always find that's the place where we learn the most often. When we
so one of the biggest things is procrastination, right? I'm working for this company, and they're paying me to do a job, and they're paying me well. but it's just that I'll do it tomorrow, just procrastinating, and it's like you're putting yourself on the back burner, and a lot of that's because maybe we don't know the process, or we don't know somebody who's done this. It's overwhelming to take that on all at once, right? And we all go through that, and typically, if you have somebody in that business or that's doing something like that, you go to that person and they can kind of help you show the ropes. Like I said, the culture barrier for me was nobody's really into this stuff, or they don't believe into this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's great. I'm still going to take the ball for me and I'm going to run with it. And that was one of those things I kind of kept putting it off. And I think one of the reasons is I was still trying to figure out what was missing that I wanted it to do. I've accomplished a lot, and of course I was a lot more motivated when I was younger, and it's just because you don't need to sleep a lot longer to get rest and everything like that. And it's like I have to continue doing something, but what is it? And I just kept thinking and thinking, and I didn't live from the inside out. And a lot of things from the outside were just distractions, and thinking into results, and talking to John and just sit still kind of helped me out, and it just kind of engulfed what was in me and started bringing it out. And I just kind of put a target on it when I found that passion that's coming out of me, and just asking myself, okay, what do I like to do? And that's when it hit. And then when it hit, I was like, this is what I have to do, and there's no going back. So I'm gonna grow this company like crazy. So
yeah, I'm sure you are. I can't wait to see it blow up. I'm sure. I heard something the other day. A gentleman actually who's in our Thinking Into Results group, Clyde Fowler, shares the same second name as me, which I find that's uncanny that there's someone with the same second name in a group like that of small people. It could be anyone in the world. And he said that procrastination is the thief of time. And when I heard him say that, I was like, yes, that is true and powerful. I actually read it on a note, and I've got it just here. And as soon as you said the word procrastination, it just popped into my head, because it really is a thief of time, isn't it? And it's, again, I think it comes into discipline. Sometimes you think, okay, I've got a list of 5 things to do. I'm going to do 3 today. The other one I might do, but one of them's definitely going to wait till tomorrow. And it's just like, why do we do it? I don't know why we do it. I think it does come down to discipline a lot, and it comes down to a number of the things that you said there. Absolutely. Overwhelm is something I've particularly come up against a lot. You've got the list of 5 things, how you can do 3 of them. The other 2, you need to probably do a bit of research or ask someone for some help. And those are the ones you always put off. Now, I don't know about you, Mensur, but how I've tried to change that is putting the ones that I really don't want to do at the top of the list, or putting the ones that I think are going to be the hardest at the top of the list, because then it's like it's all downhill from there. It's a nice and cruisy, as we'd say in Australia.
I think you're tapping into your emotions there, and what the barriers are. So you're either tackling the hard stuff first, or kind of getting yourself ready mentally to be able to take on the other challenges. And whatever works for you. Like, everybody's different. Everybody has a way to approach things, and I never force things on people. And the reason for that is we all think different. We all have the way we measure our emotions, feelings, but that positivity, thinking positive and having it write down, having that schedule, or even numbering in the way that you want to tackle that day, that goes a long way. And a lot of people actually don't really think about how impactful that can be. Do it day in and day out, and you can achieve some great things. And that's how these big companies, they stick to simple plans, and because they know the simple plans work. And then you just, with repetition and a little reprogramming, people are off to work, and now you have 80-90% of people going to a job that they don't even want.
It's very true. Very true. Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's a lot can be said for that, isn't there? Though? Getting stuck in a job you don't like. Something like, I heard a statistic once, it was something like, it was well over 80% of people actually go to a job that they just don't enjoy. Yep. It's just staggering when you think about all the jobs that you can do out there. And I mean, just they're just the jobs, right? When you take that away, just the amount of businesses you could start yourself, or the amount of things there are to have a passion in that you can then transform into something that does pay the bills for you. It's incredible, really, how you've mentioned the system a couple of times on this call, how you just slot in with the system, right? You just do what parents, teachers, peers have perhaps prescribed to you?
Going to a job that you don't like and being miserable, when that thought goes through my head, it's like, you have to find your purpose. If you don't find your purpose, you'll always be working for somebody else, and if you have doubts or whatever it is in you, all that stuff can be worked out. If you really sit down, stay still and think about it, there's certain questions you have to go through because they're definitely going to touch that subconscious, unconscious level of thinking. But you can definitely break through those barriers, and we're capable of great things. We're made perfect. We're capable of so many great things, and I think people put a lot of limits on themselves, and they don't feel satisfied. They feel miserable. And the thing is like that program kicks in that they're used to doing those same things that, they do it every day, but they're getting those same results where they're not moving forward. And that's it's sad to see. It's definitely sad to see, knowing that we have so much more potential in us, and we can do anything. So
yeah, limitless potential, which is literally infinite. And once you realize that and take action towards it, life becomes, I believe, instantly a whole lot better. I can actually say it from experience because it's something I've been transforming recently. Quitting my job and finding my passion and going forth into something that really does fulfill me every day, and not something that fulfills someone else's pockets. It's a better way to live. Then tell me about some big wins you've had, along the way, with business, essentially.
So business is actually, it's starting to boom, and I've always have a strategy on when I'm doing something, and that's part of you're writing out your goals, you're getting around the right people, and that's huge. So what I kind of did is I took the approach of I've seen how everybody's marketing on social media stuff, and it was something that's completely new to me. But I'm a people's person, right? So it's like me connecting with people, that's no problem. And then I just, I started tapping into my resources and, and asking mentors that I worked with before and coaches, how do I grow my network? How do I grow my business? And then, when I started thinking about how did I get in the company where I'm at, and how did I form the business and the collaboration between other companies, I kind of used that, and I'm like, okay, let me treat myself as a company and do that from my point of view, like I've done somewhere else. And it's worked, and sky's the limit now. So taking off real quick, fast, and the universe likes speed, as we say. So
sure does. Yeah, and I like that. I like the way you find a formula, it works. There's no reason why it can't work for someone else. There's no reason why the formula can't be slightly adjusted to work for a group, a small group, and then be adjusted again to work for a large group, or even wider, a corporation or a company. So yeah, it's about finding a blueprint, right, and replicating and scaling it. Now, I would ask you a question I kind of usually ask is, if you had to start business all over again tomorrow, how would you start differently?
I think I'd start a lot faster than I did. That procrastination, I think it's one of those things that we worry too much about. How am I going to do this, right? And everybody goes through that. Everybody that's starting the business, they worry about, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? It's like, don't worry about all that, because you're going to get overwhelmed thinking about, developing that, whatever it is that you want to get into. But sometimes it's a process, right? We go outside, for example, and here in Iowa, it's probably going to snow in the next 2 weeks. So some of you are probably going to be upset that I'm saying that. But when you see a snowman, the snowman's built, the image of the snowman's built in your head. When you go outside, you got to start forming it, from the ground up, right? Or you got to start forming pieces where you're going to start putting it together. That's exactly how it goes. So don't try to overwhelm yourself picturing the big picture. It's okay to have the final picture, so it's a drive for you, but don't be stuck on it. How, because you're going to meet people, or you're going to ask questions where somebody can say, go here, or this is what you need to do. In every state or everywhere you're at, they have, they have business partners or somebody that works for the state that can help you out. Tax people, they know how to start your business. So there's a lot of those things that those resources just come in from, everywhere. And if you have social media, you put something on social media, and in minutes, you'll have 10, 20 people tell you, what's needed. And, they even have that, what are you looking for? What do you recommend? And it's like, so don't stress yourself too much about the how. start somewhere, and it's gonna be a snowball effect where, things are gonna start falling into place, and you're gonna start asking yourself questions that you haven't asked before, because you're gonna see something in you click, and you're gonna know that it's progress moving forward that you want. So
yeah, exactly right. Just jump out the plane and make your parachute on the way down. Just figure it out as you go. It's just getting started is the biggest thing, isn't it? Like you said, you just get started, get going, get moving, and everything will come together, and you'll figure it out along the way.
yeah,
You don't need to have all the answers, and I think it's a ridiculous expectation to think that you're going to have all the answers when you're starting on, particularly something that's, if you've never started a business before, you've never started this type of business before, you've been brave enough and to follow your passion and go with it. Yeah, you're not going to have all the answers, you're not going to have all the contacts, but you'll find them. They'll come to you when you need them, or you'll have to go out and find them. But either way, if you know the why, you can enjoy anyhow, right? So if you know why you're doing what you're doing, just keep going, keep pushing towards it, and before you know it, you'll get there.
And the way I think about it is, I see a business like a baby. Babies don't know much, but soon, they start twisting, they start turning, they start crawling, they want to walk. Now, there's this something that we have inside us. It's called intuition, and that will kick in when you're following your passion, your goals, your dreams. That intuition was going to kick in, and that's kind of something that's just reinforcement there that you can't see, but you'll know, hey, this is the right thing to do. And sometimes, our gut turns. Typically, it's like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but you're going to have those moments. And, sometimes it's breaking those barriers, right? What's keeping us, from progressing? And sometimes just knowing what it is, we can overcome that if we sit down and think about it, because that's a mental thing. And a lot of people, they overwhelm themselves mentally with all the questions of, how am I going to do this, that they talk themselves out of it the more they think about it. So, and that's just a psychological thing, that it's a barrier that they need to get through, and so they can achieve great things and move forward. So,
yeah. Talking about psychological things and barriers, there, probably going to pull back a little bit here and ask you about, any big failures that you've had, and any times that you thought, am I really cut out for this, and really had to dig deep and push yourself through?
I don't really focus on the failures. If you focus on failures, your mindset's going to be stuck there, right? You can't advance until you kind of, how do you say, clear your head. So if you have a computer and you throw something in your trash can, you want to make sure that you go into that trash can and you pitch it out completely. Because as long as you know that it's there, that focus is not going to be 100% where you need it to go to. So I try not to think of the failures. Everything I've ever wanted it to do, I've achieved. Some things might have taken longer, but the thing is, I stuck through the process, right? So it's one of those things that I didn't want to pedal back. It's like, I've decided to do this. This is what I'm going to do, and and there is no ways out, right? A lot of people, they create, they have one plan, then they have another plan. Well, what you're doing, you're setting yourself up to fail, because you're hoping, oh, this plan works, and if it doesn't, then you have a backup, and you don't want to do that, because you're investing your time, and it's like, if this one fails, it's okay, I'll pick up number 2. Well, then you're probably going to have a third one on there as well. And you want to put all your resources, and you want to aim for that one goal that you have, and put everything that you have in there. It's going to stretch you, it's going to make you grow, it's going to make you develop, and you're going to learn things about yourself that you've never learned before. And that's just one of those things that you want to be able to reach into people and help them out and say, okay, what are you passionate about? What is it that you really like to do? How does it make you feel? And if thinking into the results, we learned a lot about the emotions and feelings. How do they drive people? And people really don't understand that you have a thought, or you have an idea, and then everything kind of happens after that, and it either gets you the results that you want, or it doesn't get you the results that you want. But at the end of the day, it took your time. So you definitely want to shoot for what you want, and invest that time and get the results that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're talking about goals, we've learned particularly recently about the 3 types of goals: the A, the B, and the C type goal. And the C type goal is the That's the big one you want to be writing down, reading every day, focusing on, and really pushing towards. That's where the growth is. Now, what are your goals and aspirations for your business, for your coaching business, Simply Motivated, going forward?
So I want to go global. And when I say I want to go global, I am going to go global. I want it to be a global company. I want to be able to impact people all over the world. I come from a small country across the ocean, far, far away. I want to be able to inspire anybody at any given time in any location. That's what I want to build my company on, and that's what I'm going to build it on. And I'm building resources. I'm going to build teams. I have this vision, and there's nothing that's going to disrupt it. We have this COVID come through, and everybody's focused on COVID. I'm not focused on COVID. I'm focused on growing my business, and it's growing. And that's one of those things that I'm not letting external factors, disrupt me, especially with all the technology and everything we have, technology, resources, the way we communicate, and, everything that's available out there, and the potential we as humans have and the capabilities we have. It's like we can't have something that's outside of us, control us, especially when we have that passion and desire to help other people out. So.
Amen to that. I'm not focusing on COVID either at all. I'm focusing on the growth that could be had here and the opportunities that are here. When you open your eyes and take a look around you, they really are here at scale. And I think that's a fantastic goal to go global. It's one I share with you. I'm actually taking one of my businesses global at the moment. And, that little thing called the internet that we're using right now makes it all the more possible, particularly as the internet has, it's really been, it's been in our homes certainly for 15, 20 years now. It's been in our hands more recently, and fully at scale within 5 to 10 years, you could arguably say. And it's now come to a point where it's matured, and that means that the platforms have become a lot easier to use and a lot simpler for anyone to be able to use them. It used to be, when it came around in the earlier days, you had to have a specific specialized knowledge for it to do a lot of the stuff, whereas now it's all a lot more user friendly. And even if you don't know how to use it and how to help it grow your business, particularly in the global sense, you can very quickly find people on services like Upwork and Fiverr, and there's many others out there, to find the people that you want to use their specialist skills at affordable prices, and often they're anywhere in the world as well, all around the world, to grow your business. So yes, like you say, not focusing on COVID in this time, and focusing on the opportunities and the growth. There's a lot of companies that have done really well at this time. Some of them don't surprise me at all. I saw some of them I can't believe I didn't see coming. Like when I see these Q3 earnings come out the other day, and I see companies like Logitech, which is the camera I'm speaking to you right on now, theirs went up like 30%. Zoom went up like hundreds of percent as well. Everyone I see, I'm like, how did I not think of that 3 or 4, 5, 6 months ago?
Sometimes it's pressure, right? We get really creative. We as humans, we get really creative. That's the intuition in us. When you kind of put barriers on us, or external factors do it, just like this with the companies, these companies started getting strategic, and digging deep down in it. We still want to perform for our customer. We want to deliver our results and expectations, and we still want to have a job. What do we need to do to secure this? Because everybody's going through this, through this crisis, and they were figuring out on what opportunities could they get, or how can they build those opportunities and use it as leverage, and not get stuck in this cycle where they're going under, because there is a lot of companies that are going under just because they didn't have the mindset to change, that they want to grow, utilize the technologies or whatnot, and they've got stagnant, and unfortunately they went under. So
yeah, that's true. It's happening a lot. Yeah, it is happening a lot, but there'll be a lot of new companies reborn out of that. Every setback is a set up for a comeback. Now, if you could give us, closing out, give us three hot tips for someone perhaps that wants to start a new business, or wants to, maybe they know what their passion is, but they don't know how to turn that into their paycheck. 3 hot tips, and of course, I always ask for 1 book recommendation. I can see you've got numerous books behind you there, so I'm sure you'll have no problem with that.
Yeah, the first thing is don't be afraid. We all have these barriers that we put in our head just because, it's barriers, either doubts because of the people that we've been around, or we don't get that positive reinforcement, or we don't know somebody that could help us out. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, right? And the same token with that is ask people for help. And one thing I always tell my clients is, if you go to a grocery store and you run into 10 people, the chances are, if you say hi to them, 8 out of 10 will probably say hi back. And that's the same ways that if you're starting a business or you're having a conversation with people, more people will help you out than you think. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. We all need help at one point or another. And, most people will help you out. So don't shoot yourself down. And if somebody does shoot you down, they're not the person that you really need to help you out, right? They might not know the process, or they might not really know it. They might be going through a difficult time themselves where they're not really sure. That just means they're not for you. You pick yourself up and you go to the next person. Eventually somebody will be helping you out. And take the time to learn, right? We all learn, and you want to make sure that you're always developing your skills. Now, if you look at technology, YouTube was one of them that you mentioned. Before, you need to have these skills, and now we really have it at our fingertips. You got to be able to adjust to technologies. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be able to put yourself out there and ask for help. And these are all the basics that, a lot of people miss opportunities because they don't follow them. And the reason is they're stuck in their head, and, they let those barriers take control of them, and they get into those results where it's always repetitive, but it's not what they want. And it's just something that, they're going to have to dig deep down inside, and they're going to have to believe in themselves. And that's a big one. So.
Yeah, self-belief, or at least letting someone else believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, right? Because that's what you can do if you're really struggling to find that belief in yourself. Just let someone else believe in you first. And how about a book recommendation, Mensur? I know you're a man of well-read man, so.
Well, I got quite a few behind me. Psycho-Cybernetics is a good one. I just actually started that one. And I love books that develop the mind, right? When you develop yourself as an individual, then you can develop teams, you can develop companies, you can open companies, you can open multi-companies, multi-million-dollar companies. So the thing is I always look at a perspective, and that's why I kind of chased education. I always wanted it to develop, right? I always thought, okay, the more skills I have, the more I can utilize, the more jobs I can do. But it didn't give me that filling desire of what is it that I really wanted it to do. And that's when I had to tap into myself and figure out, why do I think certain ways? What can I improve? What are my barriers? How do I get past those barriers? And that self-development, when you have that inside you, when you have that figured out, everything else, what you thought was impossible before, you just see possibilities, because you just start rewiring yourself, and you see that there's more for you. So definitely read books. You want to be able to develop yourself, and that's huge. I think that will get you anywhere where you want to go, because there's things that books do in the brain where they unlock different ways that you can think, that if you're always doing the same routine, you're doing the same job, you're just running on a program. You're not running on anything new, and you want to absorb new information so you can move on to new, bigger, better things. So.
Yeah. And are you someone who always reads the physical books, or do you like audio books and stuff like ebooks, stuff like that?
So psychologically, there's a lot that we're accustomed to looking at screens all day, right? We're working, we have tablets, we have screens. I like to take myself out of that realm, and I like to physically hold the book. It just gives me a different feeling of it. And the thing is, it's funny, but the texture of the book, it just even makes you concentrate more, because I'm so used to looking at screens that, I might skip a line, or, my head starts to hurt just because you're always at that screen, and you kind of want to be able to adjust yourself, right? So it's like getting in a car, and every time you get in somebody else's car, you got to move the mirror. You want to be able to adjust yourself so you're not doing this repetitive stuff, and you're kind of stepping back out of technology, right? Because if we use technology and it's something that we're familiar with, we don't know what everything else works like because we're used to that one thing. Sometimes it's good to step back, go back to doing something a little bit different, which is going to make us think differently. And I just love holding the book in my hand. It's way better than a tablet or a computer. So
yeah, you can't beat having a proper book in your hand, can you? I've never got into. I know a lot of people get something good about it, isn't there? Do you know what? I'll go there. I even like the smell of the books. Like when you buy a brand new book and you get it from the store and you get it home, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a great smell. But yeah, I can't get enough of like just I do like audiobooks sometimes if I'm on the move in the car, but like you said there, I tend to find that I don't digest it as well. I tend to find that I've skipped some of it and I perhaps have to listen to it multiple times. Yeah, I just can't beat the texture, the feel of a book in your hand, and particularly if you've been spending a lot of time on screens, right? Your eyes start to go a little bit fuzzy and square, and yeah, it's you want to switch it up.
Yeah, and they did a study that you're more likely to retain information if you have those earbuds in because it's closer to your brain. It's kind of blocking air going out of your ears, but it's a lot more because it's closer. You feel those vibrations, right? And those are just waves and frequencies that are going through our body. So you're a lot likely to memorize everything better than if you were listening into a car because people don't take into perspective. There's a million things that are either we're feeling with our emotions, or there's feelings, or there's a pothole, or there's this. And our bodies reacting to that without us even knowing, and sometimes when you hear somebody, hit the horn or something that's impactful, that's quick, we kind of zoom out of it, and it's like, then we go back to, being just like we were before, cool, calm, and collected. But it's definitely one of those things that you want to take what works best for you to absorb that knowledge that you're trying to gain. So
yeah, 2 books, can't beat them. Now, tell me, Mensur, if people want to connect with you, I've put a link in here. Where's the best place to find you online to connect with you?
So the best way to connect with me right now is on Facebook. I am going to be getting ready to launch a website as well, but Facebook, Instagram, I'm getting a lot of messages go through there. So that's the best way to connect me. Like I said, we have technology at our fingertips, so I'm definitely going to have my phone anywhere, and I can impact the world over my phone from anywhere. And that was one of the things that I wanted it to do. So when I said I wanted it to build a global company, it's going to be global. So I'm excited. 2021, I'm ready to tackle it.
Yeah, that's what you need. It's one of those. It's the large majority of what I run. 95%, probably 95% of my business is on is just a mobile phone. It's fantastic. You can be anywhere. Mensur, it's been fantastic to have you on. I've just sat here like a sponge and absorbed a lot of what you said today, and been really soaked myself in your wisdom. So thank you for joining me and giving your time and energy. I can't wait to see your business, Simply Motivated, go global, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you again in the groups that we spend a lot of time in thinking into the results.
Jake, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and maybe one day, who knows, I'm going to get on that jet and fly out there, and maybe we're going to do this in person. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. It will definitely happen. You've just planted the seed.
That's exactly right.
Thanks, Mensur. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you so much. It was great connecting with you.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.